Welcome to another Kamikaze Creation video. We're going to have a look at the window repair in the coupe, the rear windows and the window winders. Just looking at pulling them apart, fixing them up so they run up and down correctly, and putting them all back in. So here we go. I didn't film the disassembly process, but I will show you the other side. But finally I've got everything out of there so I can repair these windows. And the window is fine, it's just the mechanism that wound it up. So there's three nylon rollers that the window runs on, and 2 out of 3 were broken. And that's why the window was acting in the way it was. I'll show you the other side because it's still together. So here's the other side, and basically I've taken every bolt out and every fixture on that panel, and I'll show you all the parts that it relates to. And if I can hold this with one hand, this window will come down, but as you can see it just drops to the back. You can see the big gap there, and if I tried to wind it back up again, it just locks out on that corner. It just falls off, and that's because of these broken rollers. So I'll show you the parts that I bought and what I've worked out with them. It's taken a little bit, that should fix these windows. So here are all the parts that bolt inside that panel. Obviously here we've got the window winder. This channel here is for the front side of the window. This channel here is down near the bottom of the window. Much shorter rolling distance, but that allows the window to come down. And this piece here is a guide to keep the window in position, sort of from outside the car to inside the car. So that guide runs in that channel just there, but they all just bolt on the inside of the door in their right positions and all act together. So this pinhole here attached to the window winder will come across and attach to this pin, which I've put the bush washer and split pin back in so I don't lose them. And that's the actuator to move the window up and down. Now, if you have a look here, you'll see one roller in position. And when I pulled it out, not having seen it before or not having any documentation, I wondered what went on those 2 posts there. And on greater inspection I worked out that we should have 2 more rollers there, and I reckon that's what's happened to the other side window. So in the last video I showed you this kit that I bought, and I had no idea how any of this worked when I opened it up. Not until I've pulled it out have I got a bit of an indication. And this little part here is the replacement pin. Even though it looks a little bit different, that's the replacement pin. Now these pins here are actually riveted in, so they're not designed to be replaced. Basically the roller on this one cannot come off. You have to actually grind the back of the pin off because it's been peened on there to release that and be able to replace that. So it's not bolted in, it's actually peened in. Ball peened is a term, but flared out. The holes in there, it's been flared out, and it's like a rivet, which is not removable. So I'll have to grind them out and replace them with these ones. So a full assembly here, you can see there's 6 of everything. I've got one assembled up here, so the other 5 are there, and they make up this assembly, which is just here. So here's the assembly that will go back in that position and will replace that. So on the other side you'll see there's a small bolt and a washer. They will go on the outside of this arm, and that blue piece in there just lifts it up and allows a roller to move. It's like a bearing surface, and that will go on top of the arm, and that will make the new assembly. So I've got to grind these 3 pins out and replace them with 3 new assemblies, and then fit it back into the car. I might even give the window a good clean while I've got it out. But I'm pretty excited about that, having them out, getting an idea. It was really good to discover what the problem was, and to have the parts to fix it. So we'll see how this first window goes. So here's the one that I did last night. I'm back onto them today. That one was easier to do because it's got a flat bit of plate, and I ground the rivet off from the bottom. You'll see this one here, the rivet is sitting down inside that pressed bit of steel. Here isn't as bad, but still down inside, can't get down to it with the flapper wheel. So what I did was cut them off from the top. If you look really closely, if I can get it in focus, you can see the circle in there. Well, I can when I'm down in the sunlight, and I'm just going to punch them out. Basically, I've got to punch and sit them down on my bench and give them a good whack. Took a little bit for that one to pop out, but they do. So I'll whack them out, and then I'm ready to put the new ones in this. So here we are again. So it was basically one hit and that popped out. I made a better punch. I used a center punch before, which tends to expand it again. It probably didn't, but this time I went and found one of my old metalwork punches, nice and flat on the bottom, so it had some good purchase. And it was only a little ball peen hammer, but it just popped that straight out. So they're ready to fit the new ones in as well. Here's the basic window assembly, the way it sits in the car. I've just done a heap of jiggler dangling, trying to get it in with this main support on. So this is the main guide that supports the front of the window, and it was the area that had the 2 rollers broken. And obviously it was flopping around. So it was flopping around at the front, but the back was pushing up fine. So that bracket needs to go down inside the door and be fixed to the inner door panel. And then the window will slide down from the top here. This piece comes off, and that's a stop. So take that off, and then you'll be able to slide the window down on those 2 rollers, and then just put this back on. Just undo that nut, spin it around to the side, and it just lifts out. So that's the plan at this stage, is to take that bracket and bolt it back into the door. Over here you've got the one that holds on the back. So you've got a roller, you've got a channel. So this is the back support for the window. Much easier to get in, and this here is in the center area, and it's basically a guide for that stopper and just the center of the window, so it just bolts in too. So it's reasonably clear at this stage how I'm going to get it in there. I've just got to do it. It's finally in, and the window is up. All done. Have lots of patience, take your time, think it through. Hopefully this video helps a lot if you're doing this. But the first thing is the little curly guide goes in. So that bolts on here and here down the bottom. Now they have adjusters on them, so you can position that to the outside or inside of the car, which pushes the window on the outside seal so it doesn't leak. So firstly, slide that down in the door, but don't bolt it in. Just slide it in and sit it down the bottom of the door, and then slide the window mechanism in. You should be able to pick up that bracket, and then feed the guide wheels, the two guide wheels that are on the window frame, on the fixed part of it. Feed those in to that channel, and then you've got to put that little latch thing back on, that's the bolt for it there. But if it's all loose in the door, you can move it down or you can move it up. I actually moved it up to the top here, got that latch in the hole, let it swing down, then moved it down, tightened it up. Now there is an adjuster on that which determines how high the window comes up. So that's one of your adjustments. These two here, not necessarily the two down the bottom, but these two here definitely adjust the window out further. And that slider that went in the middle of the frame, I might put a picture of it back up here. That's the other adjuster. There is a little window seal here that's basically held in by the window when it's in the mechanism. It's only got a couple of little rubber rivets that sort of hold it in position. When you get all your window mechanism in, wind the window right down, you can pop that in. It'll just sit there and the window holds it a fair bit. You can see how the window is sort of pushing on it. It won't come out once the window's in there. And last of all is this transition rubber between the driver's window, which is here, and the little coupe section window. That just clips on basically. It slides in through the hole when this is off, and it just clips on the edge of the glass, and you're all done. Put these little joeys back on, which I found that I had new ones as well. Seals it all up. So the removal process, these are the basic four. There's one more, 5 components, and the window itself, but the window attaches onto these 3 bolts. And I haven't taken the window winder out on this side. This is in the future, and I'm coming back to explain it a bit better. So yeah, this time I left the window winder in, no need to take it out, but you remove all of these from the back of the car to the front of the car. So this is the rear slider support. You come through and you've got the window guide that runs in that little point there. And then you probably can release the circlip and washers from here that attach the window winder to the lifting mechanism, and then undo this main slider, and it'll just basically drop to the bottom of the door if these 2 rollers are broken. So on both of my windows, these 2 rollers were the broken ones, which meant they weren't sitting in that. If these rollers are okay, you probably haven't got to do this job, but that made it a lot easier because these are tied in, and it may slide out by that little latch up there. So anyway, you work your way from the back of the door to the front of the door, and it should all go a lot smoother. And not taking that window winder out, I think, is the key. Again, second time, so much easier. Thinking this through a little bit, knowing how it comes out, definitely helps to putting it back in. So I've assembled that main front slider. It actually goes over this little lip here, and it will come out and go in as that assembly. So luckily my rollers were broken, my 2 rollers here, so the window was loose from this frame, and I had to replace it. So you take it out in one, but you take it out in 2 pieces, but you can definitely put it back in as 1 piece. It's a little bit of a jiggle, just the position of this arm as you're moving it through, and it basically all goes down through that hole there. You've got to take this seal off that sits up the inner door, but that basically all goes down through that hole, the main bulk of it. Job done. Both those windows are in, all done, and just in the nick of time, because you can see there's been a little bit of a change in the back. But anyway, I'll get more into that in the next video and talk to you about the interior and where we're going to go to next.